Guys, it's Darcy. Welcome back to my channel. If you're new to my channel, I would love if you would go ahead and hit that subscribe button. For today's video, I'm going to be doing something a little bit different. I'm going to be talking about sorority recruitment and things to expect, or kind of like my experience with it. This is a little different for me than what I normally do. However, I would love to do more like college-themed videos, like what to pack for college, like freshman move-in day, expectations, or like even more information about my experience in a sorority, or maybe even like the sorority girl tag. So if that is something that there is an interest in seeing, please go ahead and let me know in the comments down below. I would love to film them, but I want to make sure that there is an interest in watching them first. So I'm going to try to keep this video to about like 10 to 15 minutes maximum so that I'm not boring you to death. So I think that will do it, so let's go ahead and get started. So to start things off, I'm just going to give you a really brief overview of my experience in a sorority. I was a Sigma Kappa for 3.5 years. I actually graduated college early, so that's why I was only in it for 3.5 years. I had an amazing time being in a sorority. I got a lot of leadership experience, I became more confident, and I made really great friends. I held leadership positions throughout my time in the sorority and was even on our exec board for a year as a vice president of scholarships, so I dealt with all like our grades and managing our chapter's academic success and goals. So I really enjoyed that. Also important would be to know that I went to a smaller college. There was actually only 5 sororities on campus while I was there. Since I've left, there's been a new one that has joined, so they're up to 6. Most of the sororities on campus had over 100 people, so that kind of gives you a mindset for what I'm talking about when I'm talking about my experience. So to start it off, I just want to talk about what recruitment is in general. You might also hear it called rush. And this is the process of going and visiting each of the different sorority houses and kind of narrowing it down until you decide on which one you'd like to join. So every school is probably different, but how my school did it, it was I think a 4-day process, and you went to recruitment with your Gamma Chi group. So a Gamma Chi is somebody who is disaffiliated from their sorority, and they were still an active member of their sorority, but they stepped away from it for recruitment, and they had a group of girls or potential new members, PNMs as I'll refer to them for the rest of the video, who they would kind of guide through recruitment. They would be your contact to ask questions to, kind of a safe zone, if you will. They aren't allowed to be biased. They can't tell you what sorority they're in. They're there to help you make the best decision. So pretty much for recruitment, a party is when you go to that sorority's house and get a chance to meet those girls. Normally the time increments get larger as the days go on. So day 1 you might only be with the sorority for 25 minutes, and it's really high level overview and also just really simple conversation. So it's what's your name, where did you come from, why'd you pick this school, what's your major, really basic easy things to talk about. And you'll go from house to house on day 1, and then at the end of the day they'll rank all of the girls, but then you will also rank your houses, and a computer system will generate it out so that on day 2 you only go to, at my school we had 5, so on day 2 you went to 4. I know it probably seems scary when I say that, that they are ranking you, but the thing that you need to remember is that just as nervous as you are, the sorority is just as nervous. Because when you're in a sorority, it's really important to you. You really cherish the bonds you've made in your sorority. The sisterhood's important to you, and you want to have that reflected when you're talking to new potential members. So they are just as nervous because they want to impress you. So just as you are trying to impress them, they are trying to impress you. So just keep that in mind. Every sorority has GPA requirements that you have to have coming in to join the sorority, and then even to stay in it. So for my sorority, on day 1 we pretty much only dropped grade risks, which were people who didn't meet our GPA requirement. As the week goes on, the parties get longer, as I mentioned. At my college, each day kind of had a different theme. So day 1 was just really basic general. Day 2 was all about philanthropy, and the sororities talked about where they volunteered, what charities were important to them, and how all that kind of worked. Every sorority has different philanthropies that are important to them. So a lot of people tend to kind of figure out where they want to go based off what a philanthropy is, because that is something that's also really important to them. The only disclaimer I'll throw in here is that if you join, like, so people in my sorority, you know, our main focus is Alzheimer's research. But it doesn't mean we don't participate in other things. Like, we would go to other sororities' charity events to help give back to them. The polar bear plunge, if you're familiar with that, it's like plunging into a lake in the middle of winter, and to do it you raise money to give to Special Olympics. My sorority always had a team that went and did that, even though Special Olympics wasn't our main charity. The next day is normally game day, or at least was where I was. And this is like, you go in, you have normal conversations, but then towards the end of the party, you'd kind of come together as a group, and this would give you a chance to talk to more of the girls in a sorority, and you would play games. I remember when I was a freshman, they played Jenga, and every block you took out had a question on it. So you'd pull out, like, what's your favorite TV show? And then everyone would go around and answer that question, and it was just something simple to, like, kind of foster or to kind of create conversation, and to let you get to see, like, how the girls in the sorority interact and kind of joke around and maybe take the pressure off of it. So the last day of recruitment is pref night, or preference day, and this is where you only go to 2 different parties. Again, that's at my school. Other schools might be different. And they're an hour long, and everything is a lot more formal. This is the final day of recruitment, and so once you're done, you'll go and make your preference for who your sorority is that you want to be in. Preference Day has a lot of meaning to a chapter. It's very formal, it's taken very seriously, and a lot of times chapters are sharing part of their ritual with you, which is kind of obviously very important to them. Every chapter is different for what they do. Some will bring back alum members, and an alumna is somebody who is no longer active or in college. So now that I've graduated, I'm considered an alum because I am not in college anymore. So some chapters will bring back somebody like that to talk about their experience in the sorority. Some will have songs that they'll sing. Some will read poems. It's kind of just whatever that chapter wants to do, but it's supposed to kind of share more of their sisterhood side with you, and also part of their ritual. Another thing to note here is that it's normally really emotional for people, especially the seniors, because it's their last time going through recruitment. It's the start of their final year of college, and so typically pref night is pretty emotional. You'll see people crying or tearing up just because their sorority is important to them. The next day is bid day, and that is when you get your bid from a sorority where they're inviting you to be a member. And then normally you'll, like, open your bid. At my school, everyone goes into one room and they hand them out, and you'll open your bid, find out where you're going, and then, like, you'll run to join your sorority. And, like, people will be cheering and yelling, and they have signs and, like, presents and t-shirts and all this other stuff. It's really exciting. And then you'll go do something with your new sorority, like picnic or play games or just something along those lines. So a couple quick things I wanted to address is, number one, the money aspect of a sorority. It does cost money to be in a sorority, just like it costs money to join any other club or organization. Your freshman year is typically your most expensive year of being in a sorority because you have to pay your one-time membership dues. Everything else, though, goes to pay for stuff you're going to do that year. So I would pay, you know, in the fall, and I would never have to pay again to go to another event. The money I paid then would cover like our formal. It would cover the rental space, it would cover food for it, it would cover the DJ, everything like that. In short, your money pays for all of your activities you're going to be doing that year. Additionally, they should work with you to create a budget. At my college, you could pay for the entire year at full, and you got like a 6 or 7% discount. So that's what I normally chose to do. I would save up over the summer and then pay it all at once just because I could save money. Or you could do it by a semester and you would still save, but it was only like 2 or 3%. Or you could pay monthly, and I want to say, like, when they broke it out to monthly, it was like $25 to $30 a month. Next, I wanted to talk about grades, and I know that that's important to a lot of people, and people wonder, like, how do you keep your grades up if you're in a sorority, or how do you do something like that? I will just say that you are expected to have a GPA in order to be in Greek life. Though I was actually our vice president of scholarships, this was all of my focus, but Essentially, we would have study hours where everybody had to go to the library to study, and it could pretty much be at any time of day, but you had to sign in and sign out. And it wasn't just my sorority that did this, it was all of Greek life, sorority, and fraternities. Everybody did that. Additionally, we would set up freshmen with seniors who had their same major so that they could kind of mentor them. So a senior would be helping a freshman kind of like map out their college career. So like when I was doing that, I was trying to be really helpful and say, you know, these two classes are really hard, don't take them at the same time because you will make your life extremely difficult for you because they both require a lot of attention and effort. And just kind of other tips and tricks like that to kind of, you know, help guide them. The next concern I hear people talk about a lot with being in a sorority is time management. How do you manage your time with school and sorority requirements, everything like that? And I will just say that it can be done. I was a full-time student in my sorority and held an exec position. I was a choreographer for our dance company, and I was also in a long-distance relationship. And I was able to make everything work. It just requires planning on your part. Most likely, your sorority will give you a calendar at the beginning of a semester which will map out kind of like key dates or things that you're going to need to or want to attend, like sisterhood events, philanthropy events, formals, and things like that. Another thing I will say is that, at least for my sorority, not every single event was mandatory. So you had to do like X amount of volunteer hours in a semester that were required, but there were a lot more events, and so you could easily get more than that, but there are just a lot of different options. So it's not like you had to attend every single philanthropy event or charity event. You certainly could if you wanted to, but it was not mandatory. You just had to make sure you got to your certain required number of hours. I hope that makes sense. I've tried really hard to explain it without being too like specific to my sorority, but that was my experience, as well as like my friends and other sororities experience. You know, it was never like you had to attend every event on the calendar. You wanted to, but you didn't have to, and so you certainly could do other things. The next thing I wanted to address is the idea that when you're in a sorority, you aren't friends with people in other sororities. TV shows and movies pretty much always portray that, and that was not the case for me at all at my college. I was great friends with people in other sororities, and so were plenty of other people. You're required to live in the sorority house for your sophomore year, and then when you're a junior, you know, you can stay, you can move out, whatever. So when I was a junior, I moved into a house off campus, and it was myself and two other girls from my sorority, and then two girls from a different sorority. And that was not uncommon at all. And then my last thing I just want to say is that if you don't think you have any interest in being in a sorority, or you are not sure, I would just recommend going to day one of recruitment. At my school, being in recruitment cost $20, and that fee went towards a t-shirt that you wore for one day of parties, and also like a pizza party to kickstart recruitment. And so if you went on day one and hated it, you would just be out $20, which to me is worth it because then you've formed the opinion for yourself and you gave it a shot. I just think it's worth it to go on day one and make that assumption for yourself and just see if it's something you'll be interested in. But the one thing I will say, or I guess I would also add to that, if you are 150% sure that being in a sorority is not for you, you have zero interest, that's fine. You know, I'm not trying to push it down your throat. I'm just saying, like, get out there and join something. So if you have no interest in Greek life, but you were in student council in high school, go try to join that in college, or just find something to get involved in. It doesn't have to be Greek life. It could be a sport, or like a volunteering, or a religious group, or just something. Just do something to get out and get to know people and start, you know, having something that you value that's on your campus besides your classes. So this has been a pretty long video, very chatty. I'm really going to try to edit it down. Like I mentioned before, I would love to do more college themed videos, and help get you ready for college. I just want to make sure that there is an interest in those videos before I film them all. So if you would like to see them, just leave a comment down below. If you are not already, please go ahead and subscribe to my YouTube channel, as well as check out my blog, Twitter, and Instagram. I'll have all the links down below. And I think that is going to do it for today's video, so I'll see you guys next time. Bye!